We continue our reading of God's Dream for You, the Chosen, a morning devotional by author Dwight K. Nelson. Today's reading, December 26, Snakes in the Cradle. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. John 3:14 and 15. For 40 hot, long, weary years, the chosen have been camping their way in circles through the barren wilderness. And now, with the promised land nearly in sight, comes word that Moses and God are taking a detour around Edom. But the people grew impatient on the way. They spoke against God and against Moses and said, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the desert?" Numbers 21:4 and 5. In the words of Yogi Berra, it was deja vu all over again. Will the chosen ever learn to radically trust their divine leader? Now, it's not that I'm afraid of snakes. I just don't want to be there when they're there. What follows is the stuff of snake-infested nightmares. The camp of Israel suddenly swarmed with fiery serpents, so described because of the searing pain and rapidly ensuing death the viper's fangs inflicted on their victims. I cannot imagine the horror of a deadly adder slithering up onto my bed and slithering beneath my covers and along my very exposed leg. I grew up with too many missionary stories of swaying cobras coiled and cocked at the foot of the bed. Shall we blame God for this toxic serpentine plague? No. Deuteronomy 8:15 makes it clear that the wilderness was already infested with the adders. For 40 years God shielded his children from their poison. But now, only days from the promised land, God honors their free choice to reject his leadership, and when he quietly removes his protective presence, the heretofore held at bay poisonous reptiles come slithering into camp. And the Israelites begin dropping like flies. In almost every tent were the dying or dead. None were secure. Often the silence of the night was broken by piercing cries that told of fresh deaths, fresh victims. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 429. And the very leader they had cursed just hours earlier, they now begged to plead with God on their behalf. So Moses turned his face before God, pleading for the chosen. The divine response? Mold a bronze serpent, hoist it on a pole, and command the stricken to look. All who look will live. Raw faith. You either look and live, or refuse to look and die. For the chosen, the choice has always been that stark. Magic serpent? No, just the image of a God who would become the very curse that the sins of the chosen have caused, so that they might yet enter the promised land. This concludes our reading today of God's Dream for You, the Chosen.